Hey, Wobble, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, man, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff.
Anything on which you can opine? Because I have a Twins question, then a Bears question, and then we will embrace between segments as quarter-century old-school best schools will do. But anything you can share about lots going on? You sitting back there working on a Whopper?
Nah, just, breaking news. The New York Times just announced it's disbanding its sports department.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we're all kind of digesting that right now.
I assume that's because, didn't they buy The Athletic?
Yeah, they spent $500 million on The Athletic. And
they just use some of the Athletic writers for the New York Times.
That's what's going to happen now. The Athletic is going to supply stories mostly through online, but also for print. But it's like 35 people working in the sports department at the New York Times are now going to be reassigned to other departments. And I guarantee you, most of those people, the only reason they're at the New York Times is to write sports. Yeah. So it's kind of have to be a bitter pill to chew today for some people.
Well, that's newspaper immortality. No matter, I'm the least political person that
Dave Anderson,
you know that. So therefore, I don't even know which way like New York Times would lean, whether it's left or right. And quite honestly, I couldn't care less because I don't follow it that closely. Like I follow the New York Post on Twitter, and like when I'm taking flights, that are going to be more than 2 hours. If at all possible, I'll pick up a copy of the New York Post.
Right.
I just like to read their tabloid and how their stories are written. They're just written more aggressively than most stories that you'll ever see.
They jump into some subjects that the New York Times will not touch.
Right. But like with the New York Times, you say Dave Anderson. And this is
William Roden.
Yeah, I know the name.
Buster Olney.
Buster Olney started at the New York Times, or
he started at Baltimore Sun and then went to New York Times.
There we go. Because I'm like, when I think of New York sports writer, Mike Lupica. Yeah. Okay, now I know he's a columnist, but that's first and foremost.
He was Daily News, I think.
At Los Angeles. Well, he also was the that brilliant bit that went broke. What's that? The tab they used to have. It was
the one out of St. Louis?
Frank DeFord venture.
The one out of the St. Louis?
Yeah.
What was that called? That was called
The National.
The National, yeah.
Yeah, he was. That's where. So I'm in junior college at Pasadena City College when the National cracked, and I'm interning at the Pasadena Star News. So therefore, that whole part of the business, like I worked on the desk, arranging the agate page and reading stories and using my pica pole and stuff like that. Oh, goody. But nevertheless, Lupica and the National, I'd never read him, because it was just hard to get stuff like that back in the late 80s. And I read him, and I'm like, are you kidding me with this? I think it was Shoot from the Lip is what his column was called.
You're right.
But like with the New York Times, disbanding the sports department.
I know.
Does that mean like no box scores? No, there's like no sports or whatever?
Well, box scores are going to the cutting floor already.
Are they?
In a lot of papers across the country. It's because of space constraints.
I see.
I got a buddy of mine, his name's Jim, and he had a hole-in-one a week and a half ago at Southview. And he was like, what number do I call the Star Tribune to report that I had a hole-in-one? I was like, we don't run hole-in-ones anymore. And he was like, what? And he was outraged at that. So it's just because of the space crunch, man. We've had to sacrifice some things, especially agate, high school box scores, which is a touchy subject with, parents across the metropolitan area.
Yeah.
Things like that. But, when the New York Times does something like this, it makes you sit up and go, well, and the Athletic is not making money. The story I read this morning said they lost $7.5 million past quarter,
and that was just 3/4 of Russo's salary.
Exactly. But the bit is with that.
If they get rid of Michael, they'll be okay.
When they bought the Athletic, they bought like a few million subscribers, and so it's about how many subscribers they have.
What do you mean?
Digitally.
They bought. They didn't buy me. I've been paying my $4 a month for 5 years.
Yeah, they
get your $4.
Yeah, they get your $4.
What's that mean?
The New York Times.
Oh, the New York Times.
You get the subscriber list.
Oh. Oh, that's why my phone's blowing up with, now all of a sudden at my AOL account and with my phone, it's the spam bits have increased dramatically the last 3 weeks. And that's because Russo put the New York Times sports section out of business. Well, now it's all starting to add up.
Yeah, so they're going to have the Athletic just supply their content now. I feel bad for the writer. I think Tyler Kepner who's a really good baseball writer. I think he still is with the New York Times.
What makes a really good baseball writer?
To to explain the game, tell great stories, to dig in between the numbers, to break news.
But it's difficult to do that in a newspaper, with all due respect, because of the space constraints.
Right.
I mean, if you got to, like I remember when I worked on the desk at the Pasadena Star-News and San Gabriel Valley Tribune, the beat writers would have inch constraints. This is to be 15 inches. Now, we also were cutting it with a knife. What's those X-Acto?
Razor?
X-Acto knife.
Yeah, thank you.
I still have one.
And the pica pole that I had, which I still have, would measure the inches of the story.
You had the cropping wheel, the crop photos.
I had the cropping wheel, but we actually had to, before it went all digital, paste it. You cut and paste. Mm-hmm. So therefore, if Main Man came in late with a Clippers piece that's supposed to be 8 inches, and that was like one of the 9 things I had to edit, and he comes in at 13 inches, and then you cut it, but you cut it in a way the writer doesn't like, and I'm new. I mean, I get bitched at, man. And I'm like, bro, the instructions were 8 inches. You sent 12. So now I'm at a stage where it'd be like, there are one of two things happening here. Mm-hmm. You either had a bad phone connection or you're stupid. It's one of the two, and you can make that choice as to which one you are. But I would choose the former, but the latter has been happening multiple times a week. But you remember the space constraints. So therefore, with what you're talking about a baseball writer and sharing the nuance of the game and explaining the game, good luck doing that in 12 inches.
Yeah, then you have to read through that story and just decide what paragraph you're going to cut out to make everything fit.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you don't do a good job, you'll see a crooked paragraph in the paper the next day, because you didn't exactly have the copy lined up right on the page.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, someone just got cropped there, Yeah.
I mean, you've to many, it may sound like Western suburb problems.
I was a sports editor at a college newspaper at Illinois, Chicago, and I went through that twice a week.
Yeah, but I think you'll get this. Running an agate page ain't easy.
No.
I mean, because it's like because it's like we'd be waiting for the Dodgers box score. Okay, so the deadline was 11 p.m. Game at Chavez Ravine began at 7. This was the day of the 3-hour baseball game. Well, then all of a sudden, Fernando Mania is slowing the game. Somebody's getting an award. Tommy Lasorda's coming back out, getting an award. So I'm sitting there waiting to finish the agate page, and the Dodgers box score would come in too big. And that's when all of a sudden, well, sorry, Mr. Sutton, we had to cut the pitchers out.
No doubt.
Sorry, Mr. Sutton. I know it was collective 4 hits between you and Nolan Ryan. Didn't make the old Pasadena Star-News. Why? Because Wobble wrote long on the Angels.
Or some of those 15 or 13 games in which it's like 6 pinch hitters. And all of a sudden the box score is elongated because you got to fit in all the names.
Remember when Zolgad did the broadcast sports column for the Star Tribune?
Yes.
See, I like those. And I was on the wrong side of some of the criticism at times, but that's not the point. I like I think it might be something Mushnick for the New York Post.
Yeah.
He in New York fashion, he can be bombastic, and he'll get under the skin of some self-important New York radio or TV people. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, kind of like a broadcast sports bit. I've just really always enjoyed that,
Yeah.
But nobody has them anymore.
I think Andrew Marchand did I think the Post does. I think Andrew Marchand writes those for the Post.
Well, Barry Jackson for the Miami Herald, he always has been a TV and radio sports bit. Mm-hmm. Well, all of a sudden he's on the Dalvin beat. So writing about Dalvin potentially coming to Miami and what it would take and stuff like that. So,
and that hasn't happened yet, by the way.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's just the ways and means become rearranged. And
Andrew Marchand, New York Post sports media columnist.
What's Mushnick? Bill Mushnick. What's he do?
I don't know if I follow Mushnick on Twitter.
We can figure it out though. Let's do that. A super exciting piece of investigating between segments and offer up the cash thing. What's more exciting, researching Phil Mushnick's role or Mushnick with the New York Post, or breaking down the operable nature of a pica ball? I don't know, man.
That's a tough call right there.
Yeah, but you know what? Both of those caused me to miss the straddle. So screw the pica ball and let's do the cash thing.
I got 2 things for you. First and foremost, you can watch PA and LaVelle talk about the Twins' first half of the season, maybe pica poles and all of that via KFAN.com/watch. Courtesy of Quantum Fiber, watching Final Hour streaming right here on the Fan. And, of course, the Fan and NMC Exteriors, they want to put $1,000 in your hand potentially or give you a shot to do so with the National Cash Contest. So go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword bank. You might be able to bank $1,000 with the keyword bank at KFAN.com.
This is 9 to noon, live on iHeartRadio and KFAN, The Fan.
Highway 36 westbound at Osgood, a stall on the right shoulder. Disabled vehicle on the exit ramp from 94 westbound to Huron Boulevard, and 35E northbound south of Cedar Avenue, a stall on the right shoulder. That's traffic on The Fan. Traffic is sponsored by Papa Murphy's.
At Papa Murphy's, we make your pizza fresh,
clear for bake-off in 3,
so you can bake it right away.
We have bake-off.
Right now, get the limited-time cheeseburger pizza and enjoy an out-of-this-world pizza.
Beautiful.
Papa Murphy's, change the way you pizza.
He's a former coach with 2 sons who played professional basketball. Satch Sullinger's a competitive individual, but his golf game was suffering because of painful joints.
Right, that's real important. The golf game. Right. As we get older, we create these bad habits because we're relegated to hit a certain way.
QC Kinetics used regenerative treatments, all natural healing properties from Satch's own body, to restore those damaged joints and get his golf game back on track.
QC Kinetics Regenerative Medicine is regenerating me, all natural. And that's what I'm about. I'm going to tell everybody why I'm better.
Oh, and by the way, looks like the competitive Satch is back.
We're all in the same boat, and I'm getting better, and I'm watching them stay old.
Go to QCkinetics.com. Get relief and your game back. Call for your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 612-254-7123. That's 612-254-7123. 612-254-7123.
Barrero back with you for my friends at Smart Start MN. And they know that if you've lost your license because of a DWI, the process of getting back on the road can appear daunting, quite intimidating. Given how much is at stake for you, do not, as my good friend Joe Friedberg has told you, go with imitators. Go with the folks who can help you navigate these rough waters. Go with the folks who can get you back on the road legally and safely. See, Smart Start is the genuine article. The folks who were there at the beginning of the state's Ignition Interlock program, they helped create it. They know the ins and outs, can cut through the weeds to definitively and knowledgeably answer all of your questions. I say knowledgeably because if you call, the person answering was not just handed a phone, a cubicle, and a clipboard with canned answers. They're local, and they're carefully trained to respond to your particular circumstances, not to read from a script. Smart Start MN is run by lawyers who can provide the answers you need. They'll get you back on the road safely, responsibly. Go to smartstartmn.com. That's smartstartmn.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Common here for All Elements, your roofing specialists in the Twin Cities and all across the upper Midwest. If you're a commercial building owner with a black, flat roof, these hot, sunny days can increase your cooling costs. Let All Elements install a new membrane that's white in color. It's more energy efficient, which will save you money on cooling costs. And remember, whether it's commercial or residential, your roof is essential. Trust All Elements. Visit allelementsinc.net or KFAN.com, keyword roof.
Are you a business owner, CEO, or responsible for marketing? If you are, iHeartMedia can help you reach your goals and find new customers. We reach more consumers in your target area than anyone else. And we can give you access to those potential customers more cost-effectively across radio, digital, podcasting, and social. We'd love to show you how iHeartMedia can work for you. From your cell, dial pound 250 and say keyword great results. That's pound 250 and say great results.
Meet Chris Hockey, radio celebrity by day, rock star by night. Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal, and if you're like me, which is unlikely, but we'll go with it, you need a big deal vehicle too. I found mine at Park Jeep in Burnsville. I need a vehicle that makes a statement. I'm the man. I drive over giant boulders because I can. Plus, Park Jeep is the only AEV dealer in Minnesota. Now that's a big deal.
Get treated like a big deal at Park Chrysler Jeep in Burnsville, online at parkjeep.com.
Now back to the 651 Carpets, home of the Next Day Install Studios on The Fan.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
LaVelle, are you familiar with a song called Secret Garden?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, with because Nordo, are you familiar with the song?
Is this with a collaboration of like
Yes.
DeBarge and Barry White and
James Ingram?
Yeah.
And are you familiar with the song called
I
Secret
think I've
Garden?
heard it or heard of it as well, but
Yeah.
I can't place it at the moment.
Yeah, if that could be the next bumper song, that'd be really, really sweet.
I want us to take our time because
it's Barry
we
White.
have all night.
It's right. It's Barry
Yes.
White's part in there. Oh, and Al B. Shore was also in it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. What it used
I'll
to
be
be.
sure. God, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, Barry White, man, with that. Yeah, I've watched it live on YouTube at like some award show or whatever. When Barry White rolls out, man, because he's so big. I mean, must weigh 400 pounds, at least when he was rolling out. Ladies were like throwing garments and pieces of clothing on the stage at Barry, who, is he's identifiable with love music called Secret Garden. That's the song, don't
Nice.
go home without it. Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, was on the 9 to noon show to start, and we chatted for 27 minutes. Podcasted at Love Covenant on Demand via KFAN.com. And he said several things that were interesting to me. I wouldn't say they necessarily were like overly compelling, where it gets your mind going in ways where you want to jump on social media and immediately start slam dunking on people. But LaVelle brought something up to me between segments that I remember Chris saying, and it's the way he said it I think would elicit. And let's listen back to it and see. Here's Chris Finch talking about a player who is the face of the franchise.
I do. I think I was talking to someone yesterday, and they said it very well. And he has the potential to move from the face of the team to the face of the league, or a face of the league. I really believe it. He has a lot of the characteristics that drive the best.
All right, we good.
Move from the face of the team to the face of the league.
Yeah, what about old Kitty Cat? Wonder how a man who allegedly, or at least in his mind, believes decades, or however he put it. I was on a vocal maintenance day, but I remember seeing it online. Like Carl's like, when they look back in the annals of basketball history or whatever, they're going to look at me and what I've done, and it revolutionized whatever. And first thing I thought of was, bro, Kevin Love did it here before you, and every bit as well as you, if not better. And Dirk Nowitzki did it better than any big man in the history of the NBA. So how delusional can you possibly be? And now Finchy piles on it, being like, well, he's the face of the team. Hey!
I know. If you look at the two, I'm not trying to hate on Cat because he's incredibly skilled. He does a lot on the court. But he cannot outdo Anthony Edwards when it comes to charisma. Anthony Edwards has all the charisma in the world, and he's the type of guy who is going to have people gravitate around him because of his personality and how he carries himself. And also people feed off his desire to be great, because he wants to be great. He wants to take big shots. He wants to win games. He wants to maybe bring a title here. And
it sounds like you're talking about Chicago Bears football with Eberflus and Fields and these new draft picks and a new Bears bar, I understand, either has popped up or is popping up. What's going on with that?
Yes, I'm excited. my brother. Jesus.
Hey, what's going on, Larry?
Yeah, I'm excited to announce that the search committee has completed its his fact-finding study on local bars and restaurants, and we've met with a few owners, and we've decided that the next Bears bar, since Allery's is closed and rebranding as something else, will be the Ox Cart Ale House, which is steps away from CHS Field, where the Saints play, still in downtown St. Paul. Thank you.
Yeah.
Not far from Allery's, the old location, so we can sit there and watch it try to flourish without us.
Yeah.
So we met Joe, the owner there, great guy.
Yeah.
Gonna have Bears memorabilia on the wall. Gonna
Joe.
have bigger TVs.
Joe, what's your working cell phone number, man? Let's get you into the covenant. Spend some money for the wobble segments, which include Fridays with bumpity, bumpity, bumpity. And let's go ahead and put the pedal to the metal on that thing, Joe, and make some money.
Because about a year or two from now, you'll have to bring back beating the Bears because we'll be ready to take over the NFC North, baby.
Okay. That is akin to the 18 times to you that I've said this, and your reaction after I said it for the first time, which I believe was 2014, 2013. It was Leslie's final year here. When I was talking about the tranquility and serenity the team has at training camp. I mean, I was making it sound like we got to come to training camp with a bunch of $20 bills to toke tranquility and or serenity, Lolita and Tanqueray. It sounded like a strip club the way we were getting sultry with it and everything. But I mean, you said 9 different things where it's like, come on, man. I'm like, that must be a come on, man moment with Bears winning the division. I mean, you don't really believe that, do you?
Well, not this year. You know, I got us down for 7 wins this year.
Well, what's the name of this new Bears bar?
Ox Cart Ale House.
Right on. And quite honestly, with Ox Cart Ale House, I'm happy they serve alcohol because being a Bears fan,
I always love that one.
You'll need in middle of the third quarter.
Yeah, we're going to be working on that bourbon selection at Ox Cart, too, to try to make sure the proper bourbon
I
is
got a
at
Woodford Reserve hook in Louisville, Kentucky. So, Joe, anything else we can do for you? Say your restaurant's name. Wobble will be there for unpaid appearances. He comes on 9 to noon weekly, so we'll probably get drops in there until Shake tells us we can't. And I just hooked you up with a representative with Woodford Reserve, the official bourbon of the Kentucky Derby. And all you got to do is just, how about a little bit for the llama?
Yeah.
Call Barb Naren and get into the mix, and this wobble thing all of a sudden is taken care of.
Yeah, let's go, Barb. That's right.
Let's go, Barb.
These unpaid appearances have got to end here pretty soon here. Yeah. I know where your stash of Woodford is, by the way, so if I ever needed to get a hold of it.
The way a lot of the newspaper business is going, it can be argued that you should pay us.
I always love that one.
Wow.
I'm sorry, man.
Wow.
If we weren't friends that long, I couldn't say it.
God, he shoots
I couldn't.
scores.
But you started with that New York Times piece, and you got me scared from my friend Alec Lewis because given he's going to go to the New York Times to cover the Giants and make about $325 a year, well, we're going to lose him in studio at the Friday football feast.
Oh man, that's too bad.
I don't know why you got to root against him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's a nice kid from down Anniston, Alabama way, just doing the best he can.
But by the way, where were you Saturday? How come you weren't on the ice at the Trio Rink?
I was calling races at Canterbury.
Ah, man, you missed a great time. You should. Zach Halverson on skates was worth the appearance alone.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Well, the other bit was, I'm like, who's this tall dude? It's this massive individual on skates.
I couldn't believe he was there.
It's Greg Ostertag.
And I'm like, who knows Greg Ostertag in the hockey community?
Yeah, so that's why I was trying to get at that afterwards because I asked him, I said, Greg, do you live in Minnesota? He was like, no, I live in some small town outside Dallas, Texas.
You know what would
And I
be
was
really
like,
cool?
I got distracted because Joe Mauer was around.
Yeah.
I needed to talk to Joe for something.
JoJo can skate, can he?
There was a play. I tell you what, there was a play. He had the puck inside the blue line, and 2 guys converged on him, and he just did a move and did some quick stick handling, turned into a mini Patrick Kane and just kind of weaved his way through them. And I was like, oh my God, this guy do anything wrong?
Wow. The Ostertag being that tall on skates, man. I mean, that's just got to be crazy, But your 3-2 pitch. I don't know if it was a 3-2 or an ancillary, a separate column in closing here that you wrote within the last couple of weeks about that Orono girls high school hockey situation. Very well handled by you. I read the entire thing. And what would have been really cool with this crazy game of hockey and the celebrity aspect of it is if Larry Olam, the coach, was on one team, and the loudmouth parent who sent the email being like, "You ain't it. You never were it. We knew you weren't it, and hopefully you learn from not being it." Which still bugs me and really makes me want to say that person's name on the radio, which I've known for 2.5 weeks, but I'm not going to because of their children. And I was respectfully asking.
Right. But it would be a heavyweight battle because both men have hockey playing experience.
Yeah.
So it would be a very interesting matchup there.
Well, yeah. I mean, you go after Olam, and of course he can stick up for himself. But then all of a sudden, here comes Ostertag. Ostertag will knock that slam dunk email right out of your last membrane.
It was cool. Some of the people played. Wes Walls was out there. He actually put on your boy Ed McDaniel was there as a celebrity coach, and Randall, not Ed, Randall. Randall, he put on Randall's jersey, number 64, and skated with it for a shift.
Sweet. That's sweet.
Nicholas Backstrom flew in from Finland.
Wow.
Just to participate in the event.
That's awesome.
I was like, man, that's pretty cool. It's a nice little bit. They can't do it at the X because there's no ice down at the X right now.
Yep.
And it's cost prohibitive to just get the ice
Tree
going.
is cool.
Yeah, Tree is great, but packed, standing room only around the rink. People had a good time, Kevin Gorg entertained in between periods.
He was fantastic, I hear.
It was a good time. I had no idea that the Noon to 2 show was broadcasting live from there until I'm in the stands, because I'm looking for people, and I look over and there's Meat Sauce, and then there's Nordy, and I'm like, what are they doing here?
Oh, you know what? And I'm hopelessly late here, but I got to get this in. Johnny the Mouse Mickelson just texted me. I own part of a horse, and I haven't told you this, where I'm not the majority owner, okay? And it's a 2-year-old who could be racing within the next 2 months, right before we close at Canterbury. It's an unraced horse. The majority owner of the horse, a friend of mine named Mike Jellish, who owns the boat bit that Rosie endorses, Your Boat Club or whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, he's the majority owner, so he gets to name the horse. He's a lifetime Chicago Bears fan. So I own a horse and will be calling a race with a horse named Bears D.
Yes.
Bro, are you kidding me with this thing? The name sucks.
Outstanding.
The name sucks. So hopefully the horse is better than the name. Thank you, Moosey.
That horse is going off at 4 to 6.
Love you. Love you. And I actually will be here next Monday. So we will see each other again, okay?
Sounds like a plan.
That's LaVelle Neal III at LaVelle Neal via Twitter. Let's go back to Vegas and chat with TV Vox Michael Grady when 9 to noon continues on KFAN.
This is 9 to noon, live on iHeartRadio and KFAN, The Fan.